Hi, everybody. Welcome to Christian Homestead. My name is Jared, and today we're talking to Kabria White. Kabria has been watching my channel for a long time, and I think it was just before last general conference, she decided that she wanted to do her own Second Coming channel, and she has been very active. She typically uploads a video once a day, and she's just going strong. And we've connected, and I'm curious, how long has it been that you've watched my channel? Because it seems like it's been almost toward the beginning. I don't know.
Yeah, between 3 and 4 years, somewhere around there. It was definitely at the start of your channel.
Yeah. Was it
So
all
I
the way
remember
back when I
the
had
the
my
chicken
beard?
coop video. I Yes, yep. I
Okay.
remember the beard. I remember all your chicken coop videos, your outside homestead videos. So it was definitely towards the beginning of your channel, I would say.
Yeah, that was the very beginning. And she's been very, she's shown up a lot in, whenever I do live streams or in the comment section. And she's had a lot of really good things to say. So I'm really glad that you've decided to make your own channel. So how did that come together? Like, how did you get that idea? And it is mostly about the second coming, right?
Yes, my channel is mostly Second Coming based. Even okay. So you asked how that came to be. It actually is funny because I don't know if you remember, but you were the first person who told me I should make a channel. Or you said, "Have you ever thought about making a channel?" And this was probably 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. I had sent you, I think it was like a Mormon tabernacle choir, or I guess tabernacle choir at Temple Square idea for a video because I had noticed something in like the specific songs that they were singing or something. And then I sent you like a weather one, and then there was one more, I don't remember what it was, but you said something like, you're sort of finding all of these coincidences. Why don't have you ever thought about making a channel? And at that point in time, I was like, no, absolutely not. I would never do that. That's crazy. And then it was all of last summer, I suppose. I kept getting prompting after prompting to start a channel. And if anybody knows me personally, I am very much an introvert. That's not my scene at all. I went to school for theater, but more of the director side of things, not the display side of things. And so it was very daunting to think about that. And I felt bad because I definitely like hushed the spirit for a long time. I was like, "You're crazy. I'm not doing that." And then there was something that I found that I reached out to you, and I was like, you know what? I'm doing it. I'm finally taking your advice, and I'm doing it. And then you've been nothing but helpful the whole way through. You've given me so much advice, and it's been so lovely to have somebody to fall back on when I have questions and things. But yeah, start of conference, I think it was like 2 or 3 days before conference, I had
Yeah.
reached out to you, and you were like, do it this weekend, do a video for every single conference session. But since conference, most of my videos are Second Coming, and they are, even if I do like a come follow me deep dive, it's still related to becoming a Zion people or preparing for the Second Coming, some kind of relation there. Or it's signs of the times or things like that. So definitely Second Coming related. Everything is, but that's my focus for sure. So
That's awesome. Yeah, when I started my channel, I started off by watching other channels. And back then, back in 2021, there weren't a whole lot of Second Coming channels. Um, but I started developing my own ideas, and I was like, someone has to benefit from this. Somebody has to hear it. So I decided
I
just to make
did.
some just to make some videos with my phone and going to my chicken coop, and then it just blew up, and it's become what it is now. And so it sounds like it was something similar for you. Did you have certain ideas that you wanted to share that nobody else was talking about?
I wouldn't say nobody else. You eventually got around to anything that I like found or thought about. I'm like, ah, Jared found it. Thank goodness. But like you said, when you first started, nobody else was doing it. At least not Second Coming related stuff. And every video of yours that I watched for years, I would like go to my husband and be like, ah, listen to this, what Jared said. Ah, this is exactly what I've been thinking. This is exactly what I've been looking at. Or things that I didn't know and didn't pick up on. I'm like, oh my gosh, how did I not see that? And so I think it's so important for us to have channels like yours and mine, especially yours, because it's a way for we all have different brains, right? We all think differently, we all learn differently. And so for us to be able to recognize signs may come easier to some than others. And so channels like yours really help people who maybe don't think metaphorically or don't have these like very like illusionary brains that I feel like you and I have because we can read between the lines really easy. Um, it helps them to see those signs too and makes it more clear, I suppose.
Yeah, I think you're right. And also, the average person doesn't have all this time just to sit down and study, the
No.
second coming and search for quotes and scriptures and, put together timelines. It takes a lot of work. Um, so
Your
I can
spreadsheet,
understand.
especially, my goodness. Can you guess how many hours do you think you've put into your spreadsheet?
I, can- I, can- I
I
cannot
sat and
guess.
I sat and looked
Lots.
at it one day. I was like, I can't even like begin to quantify how long I think this took Jared. It doesn't I can't.
Yeah.
Like it's countless.
Yeah. I mean, basically full time for 4.5 years, whatever that adds up to.
Your job
About
was the
that.
spreadsheet, and then everything else came after that.
What was that?
I said your job was the spreadsheet, and then everything else came after that.
Yeah. Well, I just, so when I started, this is how it happened for me. Before I started my channel, um, I was watching a few channels, including some other Christian channels. I was just interested in everything and anything having to do with the second coming. But I think for a lot of people back then, there was this one really important, or this this one really big presentation that came out by Jody Stoddard that got everybody excited. It got me excited and took things to the next level. And when I saw that presentation, I was like, oh my gosh, I've been asleep. Like I have like I figured that most other people had already like put those things together and that I had fallen behind. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I need to like get up to speed with my scripture study and pay attention to what, church leadership is saying. And so anyway, then I started my channel and I started coming across everybody's different opinions or views and coming across lots of different quotes. And it was so much that I realized that I had to organize it. I needed to keep things straight for myself. And thankfully, Google, like when you have things on Google Drive, like Google Sheets, which is the spreadsheet that I use, you can share it. And so I was like, oh, well, this is perfect because I can keep everything, organized and keep track of everything, and then I can share it with my viewers. But for me, it came about because it was a necessity. I had to, because I found myself referring back and back, time and time again, to the same things. But it's like just so much to keep track of. You have to do it. You have to. But it takes a lot of work. So, what are some of the main like themes and ideas that you've focused on your channel? Like, are there any kind of like theories or just like things that you've thoughts or ideas that you've been developing?
Um, I think my focus is definitely like becoming a Zion people and what that really means and how we truly become disciples of Christ in order to be able to survive the day. Because it's no good to talk about all of this if we aren't becoming the people that we need to be to receive the Savior.
Yeah.
I think that the other thing that I have focused on, I really have a strange fascination, I guess, about progression, so being like intelligence to spirit, spirit to body, body to resurrected body, and what that really means to like progress eternally. And I think a major focus on my channel is also that, like the progression that happened pre-Earth life, during this Earth life, and post-Earth life. And I feel like obviously mortality is just like a blip in the eternities. But I feel like our learning here is so little compared to what happened before and after. And so that's really fascinating to me. And so I think I touch on that quite a bit within my channel as well.
Okay, great. So next year is going to be the open house of the Salt Lake Temple and presumably the rededication sometime after that, probably October, November, December. Um, how do you view this entire thing, the renovation, the rededication? Do you feel like this is related to the second coming in any way?
I certainly do. I certainly do. I feel like President Nelson emphasized the importance of the timing of the temple. And to me, that's always been fascinating because obviously it's important for temples to pop up, to be open, and sometimes to get renovations and things. There's never been so much of an emphasis on temples like there has been on this particular one. And obviously, this is an extra important temple to the saints, and it took a long, long time to build. But I find the focus on the timeline of the temple really fascinating. Um, and that emphasis, I don't think is a coincidence. I don't think you or I believe in coincidences, and I
No.
don't think it's something that we should ignore. So, what do you think about the timeline of the temple?
The main thing for me is going back to the original dedication where Wilford Woodruff gave a couple prophecies, or he said a couple things happened with the dedication the first time. The big one for me is he said that the angels of destruction were released, and the other one was that the church would essentially, I can't remember how he worded it, but would be received more kindly by the world than they had up until that point. The world would be more receptive of the church. But if the angels of destruction were released at the dedication, then what does that mean when it's rededicated? Is it like a bookend? Um, is it time for them to stop their mission? And does it mean that the second coming is soon? I don't know. All I know
I
is
don't
that
know.
there hasn't been another rededication. There's been other temples that were built after the Salt Temple that have had rededications, but not the Salt Temple. This is the first like full rededication. So that part is unprecedented. I think about again, it blows my mind, but I think about the angel Moroni dropping his trumpet back in 2020. How did
Hmm.
you experience that? Were you aware when that happened, or what were your thoughts?
I had I saw it on church news. I originally I had remembered some kind of quote. I still cannot find it to this day. I had heard a quote either at like a fireside or a devotional of some sort, I think at BYU, Idaho, where somebody had said something. It was a general authority that was visiting, and I cannot remember who it was, and I cannot remember what they said, so don't quote me on anything. But they had said something to the effect of the sounding trump will drop. And then that had happened like a couple years later when the angel Moroni fell. And it was such a weird phrase. It kind of like was not part of his talk at all, but he was speaking on the last days. And then that happened, and I instantly remembered that moment, hearing those few words. And again, this could mean nothing because I still cannot find the source. So, but it stuck out to me because I had remembered that moment in time. That the sounding trumpet will drop. And to me, that obviously is like a multi layered phrase. But I instantly thought of the angel Moroni and instantly thought of like the gospel itself maybe not having as much resonance with the members that it currently had. So maybe like a change or a shift within the fold. And 2020 was a huge year for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so it definitely stood out to me for sure. That's kind of all my experience with that was at that time. But since then, it's mean so much more to me. But at that moment, that's what it meant to me.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if you saw one of my recent videos, but the University of Utah said that this recent earthquake in the Salt Lake Valley may be an aftershock from that earthquake in 2020.
Yeah, I just watched your video on that. I was like, of course it is. Of course it is.
So if that's the case, I haven't gone back to see if they've like updated that because they said that it may not be. So I don't know if like they've officially determined that yet or not. But if it was, that's really interesting. It's very, very
Mm-hmm.
interesting.
All very interesting.
Now, you live in Arizona, and I think I asked you this, but did you see the aurora down there? Did you get a picture on your phone, or did you see it with the
Yes,
naked eye?
I think I texted it to you. You showed it on one of your videos. Ours was like completely red. It was like 11 o'clock at night, and I normally would not be outside. Um, so fun fact about me, I don't have any friends, but a lady in our ward had invited me over for hot chocolate, and so I couldn't say no because I don't have any friends. So I went over to her house, and as I was leaving, that's what I walked out to, and it blew my mind. It was so vibrant, so red. It was like fresh paint. It didn't look like a misty light on a stage type of a light. It was like so stark, so opaque. It was just like, there it is. It was so cool. So cool. And it lasted for like an hour. It was amazing.
Was that the one on November 11th?
Ooh. Um I
Was
think I think it was December. No. No, it was the 11th. It was the 11th because there was 2 rounds of the auroras at the end of last year. It was the first one, so it would have been the 11th.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least where I'm at, it was really vibrant. Very. I walked out of our door expecting like it was still kind of light outside, so I was like, oh, we're probably gonna have to wait a little bit or something. But no, it was just right there, like just right in your face. So that was a pretty incredible one. Um, what about the eclipses? Were you able to witness those at all, or do you have any thoughts on the 2017 and 2024 eclipse?
I was so mad because the 2017 eclipse actually came home. I was living in Idaho, going to BYU, Idaho at the time. So I would have had the perfect position to see it. And I came home to visit my family during that eclipse. So I missed that one.
Darn it.
But the other one I did see. We got the eclipse glasses for me and my family. We all watched it. But um, I think for me, the eclipses are so okay. Rewind. So my whole life, I have loved the sky, the universe, solar system, all the things above us, right? And anything that happens in the heavens is my most favorite kind of sign and wonder. And I feel like the scriptures are just riddled with signs in the heavens because that's all they had. And for us in modern day, we forget to look up. And so if we're not paying attention to those signs in the sky, we're missing some of the most incredible, miraculous signs and wonders that there is. So any eclipse, any like what's going on with Betelgeuse right now, incredible. What's going on with
What's going on with Beetlejuice right now?
so they're expecting it to we'll be able to see it explode. To
Oh, the
go super
supernova, like yeah, okay.
yeah. Yes. So, so anything like that, right? Anything like that, I am so fascinated with. Or when we had Three Eye Atlas, that there was the other comets following it, and the numbers that aligned with like the 7 candlesticks and things like that. And so, I don't know. I just think that the signs in the heavens always mean something to me, and maybe it's because I read too much into them, but I always notice. That's the number one sign I notice.
I mean, if these aren't signs in the heavens, I don't know what is. Like
Right? What
what
else
would
could
be a
you
sign?
expect from the heavens? Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I know Jen with Christian Fire Poppy, she recently did a video, and my friend Mindy, she texted me about this comet that's going to make its closest approach to the sun over conference weekend. And there's the potential that this comet's going to be really bright because I guess there's like certain classes of comets. I was trying to make that video today, but I didn't quite get to it. But my initial reading of the article said that there's these different categories of comets, and this particular category is known for being very bright. Had you heard about this one?
You cut out for a second. Are you talking about the which one? They call it like the Great Comet, the CA1 MAPS comet?
Yeah,
Which that
yeah,
one? Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been watching a lot of Stephen Burns, just because I'm not an astrophysicist, so
Mm.
I need the help. Um, um, so yes, I am familiar with that one. I think Jen with Christian Fire Puppy, she is anything and everything I could hope my brain to be. So I love her videos because I think I have recognized something in the sky, and then she takes it 10 steps farther, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's so brilliant. So
Yeah,
it's so fun to watch her videos.
she's very, very good at making connections. She has a lot of very unique observations and thoughts. Um, she was the one that started her channel the first time that I offered to do interviews for um, women that wanted to start YouTube channels.
Mhm.
When I did those 2 rounds of interviews and offers, were you thinking about doing your channel all the way back then at all?
I had moments where I'm like, I could do this. I could do this. Like I said, I went to school for theater, but my minors were in English and history, and so I love writing. I love researching, and so I always had the thought I could do it. And all of these times that videos would come out, and not yours in particular, because I feel like you and I think pretty similar, but other videos, I'm like, oh, but they missed this part, and I'm like, if only I had made a video and I could have added that part in. So there's always moments in the past few years where I've thought, I should have just done it. I should just start it. But I think that imposter syndrome is a tricky thing. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It is called YouTube. That's why I don't put too much effort into my video as far as like editing goes. Like if I had all the time in the world and if that was my focus, then I would do the editing and I would have it all be nice and polished. But it's YouTube. It's not professional tube. And I think that the information that we share, the information itself, the insights, the research, I think that's the most important thing. So I'm glad that you've decided to do it. And it does take a lot of work. It's not for everybody. You can burn out very easily, or sometimes I see people, I think they have like really big expectations as far as like how quickly they're going to grow, but then they get discouraged. And just like anything in life, you just have to stick to it and not stop. That will bring you success, I think, with many endeavors. Is you just don't stop and you continue to evolve and refine yourself. But yeah, I've been really impressed with your channel. Um, and the reason why we're doing this interview is because you've stuck with it. Like it's pretty clear that you're really serious about doing it. So I'm glad that you are. What are your thoughts about the passing of President Nelson and now we have President Oaks and then the passing of President Holland? Have you had any thoughts about that? Do you feel like the timing is significant?
Yeah, so I feel like I kind of land with Caitlin from Anticipating Christ's Return uh, as far as President Holland and President Nelson are concerned, in the two witnesses realm. She and I think align on that pretty closely. But as far as like turning the hearts of the people and having the heart surgeon and having a judge now close to what I assume will be judgment, I don't think there is coincidence in timing. I also think that with President Holland's passing and having President Gilbert now coming in, I call him president because he was my president at BYU, Idaho, Elder Gilbert coming in. I think that that's also significant because I know that they had a very close relationship, and that he appreciated Elder Gilbert's vigor in fighting the good fight, and keeping gospel truths alive. So I think, again, I don't think there's coincidence in anything. I think that this secession of order is exactly how it was supposed to be. So, yeah, I don't know.
So were you already aware of, the controversy with Elder Gilbert? Like
Yes.
that was news to me. I didn't go to BYU. So how did you experience that?
So it's funny because I had brother Clark, and then Clark Gilbert came in at the last year I was there. And Elder Clark was great. I believe he's a general authority now. But my experience with BYU Idaho, I think that time frame in general with any school, but especially church schools, there was quite a shift in the culture. Um, that was the end of the millennials and the start of the next generation was my age. And so everybody that kind of came in after grew up with technology, grew up with fast, immediate response to things. And so it was kind of a different mindset of people. And with that shift also came different ideologies, and we see more of that. I don't want to be political, but more of the leftist ideology coming into the church schools, and church, our gospel is a conservative gospel. And so having that kind of mindset come into the schools that are supposed to be gospel-centered church schools kind of shifts things a little bit.
And
And the controversy.
in what years are we talking about that you were going there?
So I was there from 2013 to 2017.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And with Elder Gilbert, The controversy is that he doesn't compromise on the gospel. And people don't like that. I think which is so funny to me. The controversy is there's no controversy because he's not willing to compromise. And it's hilarious to me that people find that offensive. And I don't understand how people expect to be in the church and be members of the church and then say that they think the church should change. Because if you believe that this is Christ's church, then his gospel has been the same forever. And it's not going to change. We may have different policy changes or things like that, but the gospel itself is not going to change. Marriage will always be between a man and a woman. Those things are never going to change. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so we just have this huge shift in the church right now where people think that if they say it loud enough or they have enough signatures, things will change. And that's not the case because it's never going to change. And the general authorities have said that. And so people don't like that. But
it's interesting because in our church, okay, how do I word this? So
I know
what?
I said I know we have to be careful about how we word things, but
well, I'm just trying. Okay, so I've observed in other religions, if you are that type of person, you have those type of values, there are places that you can go. So if you were just like a Christian outside of our church, you could join like one of these mainline churches, or you could go non-denominational, like one that matches your values or whatever. If you're Jewish, instead of being Orthodox, you might be conservative, which even though they're called conservative Jews, they're not conservative. Or if you're even more that way, then a better fit for you would be Reform Judaism. So, but in our church, we don't have these like different options. I mean, we do have the splinter groups, and you have Community of Christ. I guess that would be more along those lines of like kind of like Reform Judaism or mainline Christianity. But within our church, it's all centralized, and we're one body. And I've tried to understand the frame of mind of these people that are like Reform Jews. It's like, and I'm not trying to paint them in a bad light, but it's like they want to hold on to their heritage. They want to hold on to the sense of community, but they don't want to do the actual religion. It's like they want to keep it a club, and wear that kind of like facade, but they don't want to actually do it. And so
I think that's exactly what we're seeing in our church too.
Yeah. So you saw a lot of that when you're going to BYU, like other students?
Especially because I was in the theater department, so it was a little bit more willy-nilly there. So, yeah, but it's heartbreaking and sad, but it's also frustrating at the same time. I think that we have these people that really want that culture of the LDS culture. They want the potlucks, they want the trunk or treats, they want the easy babysitter from the young women, but they don't want to commit to the other things, or they want to have their coffee but still be allowed in the temple. And obviously coffee is not a breaker deal for exaltation, but it's the principle of the thing, right? It's not like a buffet. We're not a part of a buffet. We don't get to pick and choose. It's an all or nothing. And it's where we are in our hearts on that progression path, right? If we're struggling with something and Heavenly Father knows we're struggling with something, but we're trying to be better about it, that's not punishable, right? Not punishable, but that's not something that Heavenly Father will judge us for. But if we're doing things in spite of the knowledge that we have, just for the sake of doing it because we want to, and we don't think it's a big deal, even though He said that it's a big deal, that's where there's a problem, I think. Yeah. And I think that people today, especially the younger generation, don't want to be told what to do. They want to live for themselves. They don't want to be selfless. They want to live only the life that they choose. And they think that they get to pick and choose anything that works for them, and everything else they can just toss out. And that's a problem.
Yeah. That's that's active rebellion, when it's like, it's wrong and you don't care, you're going to do it anyway, rather than, it's wrong, you do it, but you don't really want to do it. It's more because, the flesh is weak. You're still working on overcoming the natural man. There's a big difference between that type of person and somebody that's just like, oh, I don't care. I can do this and there's no problem. In fact, if anything, the church is the one that needs to change, not me.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So I think it's going to be big having Elder Gilbert. I don't know if you saw my video, but back in 2021, uh, President Holland, at the time Elder Holland, he spoke to BYU at the beginning of the school year. And
Mm-hmm.
he made this statement talking about the fact that he would go to his grave essentially defending BYU, something to that effect. And it's interesting because he has now gone to his grave and he was replaced by somebody that was like him as far as defending BYU. And I don't know like what role Elder Gilbert will now have when it comes to BYU, but I'm sure he'll have an active interest in say in what goes on there. I would think. So let's
Well,
see.
and I think that's really important because they have even like religious professors at BYU are teaching the opposite of what the church believes, which is kind of crazy to think about how they're still able to be teaching at a religious school and teaching the opposite of what the religion teaches. That's crazy.
So that's something that you had to endure while you were there, like you personally
Not me.
witnessed.
That's happening now
Oh, it's
at
happening.
BYU. I
Well,
was at BYU, Idaho. I had wonderful religious professors there, but at BYU, that's happening. I have like, so I taught at a high school a couple years ago, English, but it was a predominantly LDS school. And I've had 2 or 3 students that now are at BYU saying, is this what we're supposed to be learning? Because this is what they're telling me at school. And I don't think that's right. Is this right? Help. I'm like, that's not right. That's not what you're supposed to be learning. That goes against church doctrine. That's not okay. Like,
so when you were going, not just in religion, but like, were all of your professors like in all your classes pretty much okay? Did you see anything that was like that?
yeah, so all of my regular class teachers were great. Had no issue at all whatsoever. In the theater department, there was a little bit of an issue with 2 of them. They no longer work there. They actually left once President Gilbert was put in. So I don't know if that coincides at all, but it makes sense to me. But yeah, they were, instead of like, okay, so for one example, we had one professor that would curse like all the time. And it's one thing if you're LDS and working somewhere, but if you're working on a dedicated campus, you probably shouldn't be cursing every other word. That doesn't look good for the church, you
Why
know?
not?
And obviously that's a little thing, but it was just this flippancy with language when you should be pretty held to a higher standard if you're working for the church and representing the church in their education system. And then there was another teacher that we had that really focused on, because it was theater, they focused on like being hyper aware of your body. It sounds really weird, but like meditation and understanding where you are at all times, like where your hands are and where your head is really stupid stuff. But it kind of evolved into relying on meditation more than prayer. And he specifically said so. And that was a problem for me because I was like, I don't know anything. I'm going to rely on Heavenly Father. Thank you very much. And I had said something in class one time and he got pretty upset with me. And he was like, right now, you're not in church. Right now, you are in a theater class. And I was like, right, but we're at BYU, Idaho. So I'm going to stick with prayer. Thanks. And I left the class. He did not like me for the rest of the semester. But the point was there that he cared more about the meditation than prayer. And it's just little things like that, little nuances that he would say all the time. And then he blatantly said that this is more powerful than prayer. And I was like, I'm out. Can't do this.
I'm always leery of people that do the kind of like fusion thing where they take some belief system, whether it's like New Age or some other Christian church or whatever, and they try and like mesh the two worlds together and make it work
Mhm.
and insist that, to other people that they have more knowledge, or they know the secret things in this other religion. That's always problematic to me. But with professors, so it's been a long time since I've gone to college. I didn't go to BYU, but so this like never crossed my mind. But is there a way for students to report their professors if like you have a professor that's just like doing crazy stuff and teaching against the church? There's a way to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think at BYU Idaho, it's probably easier to get a one-on-one talk with the president of the campus versus BYU because it's astronomically larger. But there certainly is a method to do that. Even if it's just an email to a secretary, it will get passed on. But I think the problem is there's a lot of teachers who are tenured there. There's a lot of teachers who have a sense of seniority and prestige on campus. And I think that there's also a lot of teachers in general that are kind of in this shift. And so it's a fight in numbers, if you will. And so it's like all against the one. And so if we don't have somebody like Elder Gilbert who is willing to fight, who is willing to stand firm, it can become a huge issue, I think.
So what do you think? You have a professor that clearly doesn't have a testimony of prophets. Maybe they think the family proclamation is problematic. Maybe they don't believe that the Book of Mormon is a historical record, or any number of things, and they're teaching at BYU. Do you think that most of them are just there just because it's work? I mean, certainly they're all there because it's their career. But do you think some of them are there because they want to make a splash? They're like, there's some part of them where they're like, you know what, I'm going to go there and I'm going to, teach something different. Like I feel like the adversary is at work. And I just wonder if some bad actors make their way into BYU and they know what they're doing. It's like not just work, they want to spread their nonsense.
I think that's certainly possible. I think from what I've seen and from the news that I've received from previous students, these are teachers who have been there for over 20 years. And so I don't know if hearts have changed over time. And if at one point they maybe did have a testimony of all the things that they're supposed to be teaching about. And then it's just shifted as the world has shifted. I haven't seen a lot of young teachers doing this. The professors that I've seen that are saying these things are particularly religious professors or like marriage and family professors. Um, and I think that you're right. I think Satan is at play here. And I think that he is shifting hearts where he can. And if you can infiltrate that school, that's thousands and thousands of kids that are learning something other than what they're supposed to be learning. And what a great tactic by Satan. Like, seriously, home run for him.
Mhm.
Like, that's a shoo-in way to get to the heart of the people that you want to disrupt.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
I feel like they're basically, if you were to give it a name, it's almost like they're like anti-missionaries. They're like
Yeah.
anti-missionaries.
Yeah.
Um, whether it's at BYU recently, I don't want to name names, but there have been these like therapists that claim that they're not trying to lead people out of the church. I don't
Mm-hmm.
believe them at all, but that's just my opinion, because it's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, then why are we focusing on you? Why are we doing an interview with you and not all the other therapists? They don't seem to have the same. Why are you the one getting the spotlight? Um,
Yep.
and they'll go through the mental gymnastics and explain away everything. And I guess we're supposed to just be like, oh, you're just doing your job, and we're all the rest of us are dumb. You're just doing your job. We're all just getting too riled up about this. But I feel like there are these like anti-missionaries, people that know exactly what they're doing, but they want
Mm-hmm.
to convince you, and they'll fight tooth and nail to convince you that no, everything's fine. I'm a good member of the church and I have a temple recommend and whatever. But basically their actions don't match their words, essentially.
Yep. Yep.
I don't know.
I've
There,
seen that all over. all over. And I think, okay, so kind of combining the last two thoughts we've had with like that one meditation professor and then these therapists, I think sometimes people have bad intentions. And I think other times they're fooled. And the way that they're fooled in particularly these two situations, in their mind, they might be combining justice or freedom or combining science with religion and thinking that, oh, God created freedom and justice, so if we pair it together, it must be right. Or God created science. He is science. So if we pair those together, then we're using it to its maximum capacity. And so I think that there's some people who get fooled by this simplistic thought that they are elevating the knowledge that they already have and helping others achieve that too. And so with these like therapists in particular, it's almost like they're fighting for other people's freedom, and because it's supposedly a good thing, then they think that they're doing a good thing and they'll appear good to others. And for people who lack discernment, it probably does appear that way.
The thing that is perplexing to me, if I'm to believe their story, is that when they talk, they don't seem distraught at all about people leaving the church. There's no tender-hearted remorse that they have to help people. They have to like stick to the ethics of their profession, and it hurts them. There's no sense of like it hurts them at all. It's almost like, well, no, I'm just doing my job, so it is okay. It is okay. But anyway, I could go on and on about that. I do think there's probably another class of people. So you were talking about people that may have like genuinely been like fooled or confused, like people that just genuinely they get fooled. But I think there's yet another class of people where they're very persuadable. They want to fit in. They give in to social pressures. So they may not believe these things that are taught at BYU, things that are against the family proclamation and so forth, but they feel the pressure from other faculty and staff and maybe even the students. And so they themselves not having a backbone, they cave in. I think there's people like that too. So
yeah, I absolutely believe that. I think that especially when you're in a job setting that you want to fit in, you want to in social media, you want to be appealing. In I don't know, just there's so much peer pressure in general, and then you add social media to the mix, or you add an employment situation to the mix, and it amplifies it tenfold. And so some people will do anything and everything to fit in and to belong. So I completely agree with that.
Well, that's even, I would say that's even another group of people when you're talking about, well, it could be social media, it could be other things, but let's say that you're a girl and you want to have like a vlog, and maybe it's about makeup and hair and outfits and just being a mom and stuff like that. If you tried to do a vlog just like a regular YouTube channel to a general audience, you may succeed, but you're up against a lot of competition. Mm-hmm. But if you narrow it down and you make it more about, like, you fuse it together with like your church life, then you have less competition. And I think some people have realized that, it's having a niche within a niche, and then you're more likely to thrive. And I think there's a lot of people that kind of hijack their church identity, whether it's for social media or maybe some some business or something like that. I think there's some of that too.
So, yeah, I've seen that as well.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we've been going for a little while. I think we should probably wrap it up here, but I would love to talk with you again. I think I'm getting in the mood to do interviews again, but it's not, just so everybody knows, it's not going to be with just anybody. I'm kind of going to keep it to people that I know, and I'd like to talk to more Jewish people too. That's been something that's been absent from my channel for a while, so I want to pick that back up. But for right now, everybody make sure to subscribe to Kabria. The link is in the description box below, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Thanks, everyone.